Hey, happy Friday! Gusto ko yun.
Gusto ko yun. Hi guys! Good evening!
Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, hey, hey! Hi Nico.
Hey,
Nawalan bigla
yes.
ako. Nagbabumper na naman ako tonight. Ewan ko ba. It's so hard to start these things. Parang you don't really know what to say. But I guess good evening everyone. And we are here again. So yesterday we had a live with the cast of Wheel of Fortune. Charot. Wheel of Love presents A Weekend to Remember. And that
Uh-uh.
was a fun live.
Super.
And we debuted our first, well, not our first, but the new and improved improv challenge. So we had a lot of fun with that.
Yes.
And we're looking forward. And I think some of the audience members yesterday, they also posted that they're looking forward to more batches. So may
Yes.
leaderboard tayo. Tingnan natin kung sino yung perfect or at least get, what is up with my hair? To get the best score possible in the new improv challenge.
Madamihan
Ayan,
tayo doon, di ba? So,
correct.
pahabaan tayo ng listahan doon sa
Correct.
scoreboard natin.
Yeah, so
Yes.
I think this is the best that my hair is gonna get. And the reason why I'm very conscious is because we are gonna be talking about Schitt's Creek tonight. And as we know, one of the main characters, well, fashion is very important in this show. And I know that we cannot compare, but at least we have to look decent,
Yeah.
because malay nyo, sana mapanood nila to. Yes, ganun.
Mabisyosa.
Correct. So if you're joining us for the first time, this is Brew Hobby Squad, and we talk about all things. Well, now basically anything, as long as it catches our eye. Well, as long as
Mhm.
it's media, right? And
Yeah.
anything that we're interested in, because we started with BLs, and then we talk about LGBTQIA plus issues, but now basically it's just whatever catches our interest. Because of course we are multifaceted individuals, and we can't be
Yes.
confined to just one thing. So my name is
True.
Mikey, and over here is Nico, and there are
Hey.
actually seven of us, but of course the rest have other things that they're occupying their time. So it's just going to be us today. And if you are joining us again, thank you for being here. So hi to Lance. Yay! Thank you for being in the chat. I know that you're
Yes.
working, so thank you for
Your
spending your time with us. And VR as well. Kumusta ka dyan, brother? And
brother,
Darvin,
yes.
hello,
Uy, by the way,
aloha.
si Darwin talaga yung nagtutweet, retweet, and all. Kasi I think napanood na niya talaga yung, yung series eh. And then I actually
Right.
messaged, I tweeted eh. Doon nag-respond ako doon sa thread. And then sabi ko, uy, invite ka namin kasi napanood mo na. 'Di ba? Natakot talaga siya kasi may work daw siya today at tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, no. I think for the next nights he's gonna be working. I think my four consecutive
Mm,
days na working siya. So
right, right.
um he'll be here, but of course a little on the down low. Kasi nga, bawal siyang tumawa sa work,
Yeah.
etc. Yun. So yeah, we are gonna be talking about Schitt's Creek. So if you've seen it, share with us your thoughts on it. And of course, we're going to try to pull it up and involve you in the conversation. If you haven't seen it yet, there might be some spoilers. So, fair warning. Ayan.
Yeah.
So, Nico, how do
Siguro
you want to?
just to give you them some sort of a background, parang it started basically with this clip of I'm not so sure kung anong clip yung nauna. It was the singing part Yung kumakanta na
Yeah.
si Patrick to David right? And I think we have that clip and we shared that around, 'di ba? And then
Yeah, we
another
did.
clip was I forgot the other one. And then I just got curious. Sabi ko, ano ba tong series ng Schitt's Creek na to? Parang di naman natin alam to. We didn't even have an idea of what the series is about. And then
Correct.
we were able to like see it, and I was like, first season pa lang, oh my gosh, parang cute naman ito. Parang
Uh-huh.
makikipanoorin natin. And tuloy-tuloy na. Ito na, mga addict na tayo ng Schitt's Creek.
Right. Actually, it is a very nice show. And, well, how do you want to get started by? I mean, do you want to follow a
Um,
format or do we just throw out stuff out there?
we can probably start off with yung ano ba yung ginagawa natin before? Yung delighters,
Okay.
satisfiers and bombers. Like it can be anything, diba?
Sige. So you guys can also put down the stuff that you think
Yep.
are delightful, those that just satisfy, and those that could be improved, or maybe things that are lacking, or maybe some things
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you wish there was more of. Diba?
True,
So you want to
true.
get started back?
Yes. I'll start off with. Can you hear this?
Give me everything I need.
Yes.
Be a
Oh
lifetime
my
of
god.
promise and a world of
Oh,
dreams.
I
Oh my
super
god.
love this part.
Speak the language
Yes.
of love like you
Grabe
know
talaga. Yan.
what
So,
you mean.
that's
Yeah.
my
Sana hindi tayo
delighter.
makaparay
It
dyan.
can't
Yeah.
be
Oo.
wrong.
Hindi na, hindi na.
Take my
Puputulin natin
heart
yan.
and make it stronger.
She's
Cause
simply
you're
the
simply
best.
the best.
Super.
Better than
Better
anyone.
than the rest.
Better
Super
than
love this song. As in
anyone.
this version niya. Pero siya yung
Yes.
gumawa, diba? He did the arrangement for this.
He did the arrangement for it, yes. And
Yeah.
fun fact for that particular scene, it was supposed to be a different way of shooting it. The
Mhm.
original plan was for Patrick or Noah Reed to play the
Yeah.
song, and then all of the cameras would be focused on him. So they would be shooting him first, and then after that, they would be shooting the audience. Because they're not necessarily in the same frame all the time. Right. But
Mm.
then Catherine O'Hara suggested that why don't we shoot the audience first? Because they're going to be hearing it for the first time, and then if we shoot them first, then we're going to get genuine reactions from them.
Right.
So it was sort of like last minute that they switched around the shooting, and as you can
Yeah.
all see, and as you can all tell, that was a better way of doing it actually, because you saw
Actually.
some really genuine reactions, especially from Ronnie,
Mm.
and
Mhm.
also from Catherine O'Hara.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Pero I think a good thing that you made mention of that, Mike. Kasi parang I think that the entire cast, sa lahat ng mga interviews that we saw, they would attest that there was some sense of collaboration in the amongst the cast, right? Even the directors, the writers, producers, even nga actors suggest on what to do and how to go about it. That's why sabi nga
Right.
ni Daniel Levy, di ba, na it's a collaborative effort. It wasn't just
Very
his.
much.
Diba? Na parang
Yeah.
it wasn't just his and his dad's, but it was basically a collaboration. It's a master class. It's a piece that
Right.
put
Absolutely.
together as one cast. So good thing that you made mention of that. I think I missed out that fun fact though. But I super like this particular scene, and this is basically the reason that we got hooked into the series. Kasi ito yung clip na napanood natin eh. And then we got curious and what is this series about? And then we saw the series and then ayun na. We couldn't stop anymore. Parang hey, we don't want to work, we just want to see the series.
And I mean, one thing about it is as well,
Mm,
when you watch it, you have to keep watching it because
mhm.
it's sort of like an adrenaline or an endorphin type of thing.
Super.
Like you have to keep the good feeling going. It's sort of like a drug.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a drug, and that's why it's so
Grabe.
addictive because each episode it just gives you so much, and not
Super.
only in terms of let's say the character progression, the story,
Mhm.
but also because of the one-liners, the zingers. I mean the funny, the weird, and just the
Like
amazing turn of events.
super. Yeah.
So it's pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. So that's your delighter,
Yun
the
yung isang
song.
delighter ko. Like we can just pretty much talk about anything. Like I don't really have a structure
Yeah,
in my head right now. Like
yeah,
we can
same.
make mention of scenes or whatever. Yeah. So yun yung isa sa
Yeah,
mga delights ko. Yeah. Go ahead.
actually, yeah. But since we talked about that piece, pretty much a lot, if not all, of the musical numbers are delighters for me.
Yeah.
I say there is that iconic rendition of "Simply the Best" by Noah Reed, Patrick,
Mm-hmm.
when he sang that song, because he sort of like stripped it down, and he
Yeah.
did the arrangement in a way that parang he made it more of a love song than the original was, because the original was more pop, or I don't know, it just sounded so different, right? So this is something that
Okay.
his version was more of a serenading, was more of a
Ang galing
romantic.
nga eh. It's even
Exact,
better.
right, exactly. So if Daniel Levy even mentioned that the first time that he heard it was at night, because um, Noah sent him the clip, and it was around nighttime. So I think he was almost sleeping already. But he sent it. He sent it, and then Dan, he cried when he first heard it because he said something like, It's not something that you listen to when you're single and it's in the middle of the night. So, you know, because it's such an ode to love,
Super.
and it talks about finding the one that is the best, not just because they're the best person, but they're sort of like the best person for you. So I mean, it speaks a lot about that. But apart from that, we also see other musical numbers, and siguro going with the simply the best kind song. It is
Yeah.
also echoed by Dan Levy, David. When
Ew.
ooh, David, when he um, did the olive branch. So that's an olive branch, right? So
Oh.
when he wanted to apologize to
Yeah.
Patrick because it took him a while to get back together with Patrick because of the gifts. So yeah, so parang Patrick said, I think I deserve an olive branch for once, right? Because he was always the one who was nakikisuyo, di ba?
Yeah.
Or trying to appease David. So David did the number, and I think that's one of the things that I liked about the show is that it is able to showcase musical pieces and
Mm-mm.
make it personal, and also make
Super.
it really integrated into the series.
Yeah.
So Simply the Best was still echoed further in the wedding scene when the Jazz Gals sang
Woohoo!
it, di
Acapella.
ba? A cappella. So it was
Ah!
even more romantic. And to think that
Oy.
that was when David was walking down the aisle. I have to keep doing that. I'm sorry.
Go, gusto ko talaga siya. Go ahead.
Diba?
I'm
So,
so entertained.
diba? I mean, that was so cute. So, yeah, right. And siguro, moving on to another song.
Mm,
Um, Another song number rather is one pivotal scene, which also involves character development. Really,
mm,
is
mm.
when Moira surprised Alexis at her graduation.
Aw.
When they sang "Baby, I'm Yours," right? So
Super
again,
nice.
it was an a cappella, right?
I
So it was sort of like,
cried a bit.
well, I got teary a little bit as well because
Oh,
that was basically them solidifying or maybe concretizing or manifesting their love for, well, mom's love for her daughter,
true,
diba?
true.
Because always, 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 Moira has been, um, she puts herself first. Her priority is
Yeah,
always her own happiness or her own comfort or whatever,
yeah,
and
yeah.
she neglects her children a lot, and sometimes doesn't even care about what their feelings are. But for her to actually, I think they ditched an event to be able to
Ah,
show up at that.
right,
And
right.
correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I don't know if they ditched it or they adjusted their time, but they went to
Ah,
the graduation. That's the point, and they
oh,
sang for Alexis. Yeah. So yeah, and again, Patrick or Noah Reed surprises us once more when he does the opening number for Cabaret. So he was the
super!
MC. Oh my god.
I mean,
So he can. Yeah,
I
yeah.
was not
Go ahead.
expecting that really. Parang okay, okay, one of the main cast ka in that supposed musical, but I did not expect you would
Uh,
perform that way, diba?
yeah, exactly. Right. So he's very versatile in that sense, and
Super.
I think. Well, I don't think Stevie Bud, Emily Hampshire also did the iconic Liza Minnelli song, diba?
Galing, galing.
So I mean, there's a lot of musicality in this cast, and a lot of musically inclined or musical numbers, and all of them I think were gold. But of course, my favorite among all of them would definitely be the acoustic guitar, simply the best.
Super.
Yun. Yes, Darby.
Alexis Cabaraw.
Oh, and Alexis, she sang
A
a
little bit
musical
Alexis.
number, a little bit Alexis, from her now defunct reality TV show, which was which was written actually by Annie Murphy. So yeah,
Yeah. And I think she did some arrangements with some friends just to put that together. Eh. But it was hers mainly.
yeah, I think it was her lyric. and
Ang
it was
galing.
her husband's arrangement because her husband is in a band. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Cool, cool, cool. Right, good that you made mention of that, Mikey, because I felt that the series did not actually limit themselves in a certain mold, eh. And parang I was kind of like asking you then, parang what did we actually like about the? We can talk about that later on, naman. Parang we'll just parang dissect some of the elements in the series before we get there. Na parang why do we like the series anyway? Parang it did not actually fit a certain mold. Kasi I was in a way, I did not like the premise or the story at first because these are like rich people. And I mean, I'm not even interested in their story, right? But because of that clip, nung Simply the Best na yan, sabi ko, wait lang, parang gusto ko yung mga LGBT queer na mga kineme na yan. Please, let's watch. And then,
right,
oh, and then you've been mentioning of character development, character
right,
progression and all. And I'm like,
yes,
oh my gosh, parang ang galing, no? We can talk about that. Siguro another delighter that I have is since you made mention of character development, yun character development talaga. Na
yes,
at
yes.
first we were so annoyed by these characters like Moy,
Alexis was
diba?
so annoying, and
As
Moira was
in,
so annoying.
nakakairita na parang ano ba kayo? Wala kayong mga pake. But
Oh yeah,
I also noticed, Mikey, nung season 1, I felt like the purpose of season 1 was to establish the character and the story. Eh. Diba? So I guess that's the reason also that we got so annoyed na parang, what's wrong with you guys? You're so selfish and all. But season
right.
2 started sort of like unraveling things about their characters and personalities. So parang all the more that we started appreciating these characters, diba? Pero yun nga eh, parang, and it's also linked to writing then, na parang ang galing nung character progression or character development because it was not actually forced. Because
Mm,
most series would actually rush the story. Like,
right.
kunwari, di ba mabagal pag nasa, kunwari, mga patapos na yung season kasi kailangan yung series, kailangan na i-end yung character. Ang bilis nung progression and development. But it was well spread eh. Na parang, sabi mo nga, parang 20 minutes, 25 minutes, or less than 30 minutes lang yung each episode, but we got so much out of it and it's addicting eh, di ba? So,
Mhm.
ang ganda ng pagkakasulat and yun nga, delighter ko, yung character development. It's not your typical usual mold of a series that you expect, that you anticipate, diba? And
Mhm.
aside from that, for some reason, yeah, I think we had this conversation with Lance last night na parang yung humor niya is not really the typical Filipino humor. But for some reason, the humor there was relatable and the characters were relatable to me for some reason. Hindi ko alam kung bakit yung bantering and bickering nung magkakapatid, pati yung nanay na walang pake, pati yung tatay na parang super bait lang talaga, and even the other characters were actually relatable. Parang some of these people we've
Yeah.
met probably in the past. So parang hindi ko nga alam eh. Sabi ko, may Pilipino bang cast dun sa or parang isa sa mga writers. So parang it felt so familiar. I don't know. Parang, but again, going back to character, I mean, the biggest delighter for me is like, since you made mention of that, yung character development talaga, na parang, it was good. It was inspiring. It felt good for me. It wasn't like, kasi diba usually whenever we review series or movies, we say the character is good, magandang development. Ito kasi, I'm saying this because I felt good. I felt sabi nga, di ba, like in one of the interviews that they had, parang some of the fans were saying na parang you changed my life. I came out of
Mhm.
my mom and my dad because of the
Right.
series
Right.
and everything. And that's
Right.
how I feel because of the characters. Na parang
Mhm.
all the more na that I want to like call my mom all the time, talk to my sibling, 'di ba, and all. Ayun yung
Mhm.
impact sa akin. So in relation to character development, parang there's just so much more to just creating the characters and making them progress in the entire series. Parang it had impact sa akin personally. Kaya to
Yeah.
me, delighter talaga siya. Ay, actually, siya satisfier na nga eh. Hindi na nga siya delighter eh. Yeah. How about you?
I agree with the character development part. As because like you mentioned kanina, diba? And we agree na I think pretty much the first season, but I didn't really love them because I felt that they were all very one-dimensional. Because, well, admittedly, during that first season, all they had in their heads was to get out of that town. And that was pretty much their
Yeah.
goal in life, diba? And then, of course, they were still themselves because they had just gotten to that town, diba? So parang
Yeah.
and even um David even said that he's trying very hard not to connect with people kasi yun nga
Mm-mm.
parang they don't want to settle yet. They don't want to get to know people. They don't want to open themselves up to people because
Yeah.
basically they believe that they're gonna get out of it soon, or they don't want to settle because this is not the place that
Mm-mm.
they're supposed to be. So during that first season, I love everything that's happening, but in terms of the character, I didn't love them yet, diba? But like you mentioned, the second season, that's when they started unraveling. So that's when they started, I think, changing. And one of the characters, I think, well, from the get go, I think everyone had a fully fleshed character. And
Agree.
what I mean by that is that going into the first season and the second season and so on, I think everyone knew what their character is and who their character is, right?
Totally.
So basically, nakita na lang natin yung manifestations of that
Yeah, yeah.
throughout the entire series. But ano yun, parang you know who they are. And when you see things change, you notice it because you get to know them so well, 'di ba? Parang yung mga mannerisms, for example, ni
Galing.
Alexis, the way that she talks, 'di ba? And even David. I mean the way that he constructs his sentences, 'di ba? And then yung banter niya with Patrick, and then even Moira. Moira is very consistent, 'di ba? But
Uh, uh, uh,
still, she is able to demonstrate that those subtle changes in her character,
right,
'di ba?
right,
And then
right.
ang galing lang talaga eh. Because I think first of all, and this is something that Dan Levy said in one of his interviews, it was very important that when they cast the characters or they cast the actor, that they have to know who their character is through and through, 'di
Yeah,
ba?
yeah.
So ang galing lang talaga. Kasi casting pa lang, I think they were very lucky and they were very
Yeah,
blessed to have that kind of cast
that's
from the
correct.
get-go. Because
Right.
if you have a great cast and you have a great script, then everything just naturally falls into
That's true.
place.
That's
So a
true.
little bit later, we're going to talk a little bit about the script there. Pero yun nga, parang every character, well, every major character had character development, di ba? Because, so talking about Alexis, I think she developed from this very childish, very selfish, and
Self-involved.
very self-involved person to um, a kind, smart, and also very independent woman. To the
Super.
to the point that at the end there, she didn't need to depend on someone for her self-worth.
I
That
super
she
love
was
that.
able to grow him into her own person, and
Right.
that's just the thing that you do, diba? Parang
Yeah,
she
yeah.
had a great love story with Ted, but it doesn't mean
Super.
that if you had a great love story, well, not all great love stories are meant means that you're going to be together.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm.
know, you can still have a great love story and yet not end up together in the end. I mean,
Which
it
is
would still
beautiful,
it would
Mikey.
still
Diba?
be a love story, but
It
it would be a love
is.
story that would make you grow
Mm.
into the you that you've always wanted
Ganda.
or that you need to be. Diba?
Right,
So
right.
yeah, parang I mean maybe somewhere along the lines, or somewhere down the road, if there's gonna be another season or a movie, their paths might cross again, and who knows, they might end up together. But at this
Yeah,
point, there's just circumstances that mean that they can't be together,
yeah,
but that's all good because at least they
yeah.
discovered who they are. Yeah. So
Right,
yeah.
right.
And for Moira naman, I think the same thing. I think they all come from the same mold, diba? Na parang medyo selfish, self-centered, etc. But Moira developed a sense of maternal instinct eventually, and she developed a love for the people in the community, diba? Kasi dati
Yeah.
she always considers herself as very what do you call that? Maybe aristocrat, diba? Like
Mm-mm.
everyone else is beneath her, or is not as smart, or is not as famous, or doesn't deserve her time or whatever. But eventually, she actually grows into this community, becomes the servant of the community through the
Oo,
council,
council.
diba? and she really develops this really close relationship with Jocelyn
Uh-huh.
and the rest of the
Uh,
Jezebels.
right, right.
Ayun. Siguro one character that didn't develop as much is the dad
Mm-mm.
because he's very consistent in the sense na parang he is always the provider, di ba?
Yeah.
Pero I think yung development niya is a little more subtle because what happened with him really is that um, I think um, it was more about him taking the circumstances that he is in and then growing that. Kasi dati parang, I think at the beginning, parang from Rose Video, which was a huge conglomerate, wildly successful, parang he now finds himself unable to provide for his family. And he
Mm-hmm.
is a provider, di ba?
Mm-hmm.
So now parang, I think he had to buckle down, become humble once more.
Mm-mm.
And I think he struggled really, di ba? To be able to find a silver lining in his
Oy.
current circumstances.
Right.
So, yeah, for him, I think it's more of that. Because character-wise, he's always been very supportive. He's always been very loving. I mean, he's
Yeah.
always very patient, especially when it comes to Mora and her tantrums and her
Grabe.
eccentricities. Di ba? Parang, oh my God,
Oo.
parang pinnacle of patience talaga siya. Pero I think yun parang it's more of changing his mindset. Remember that dinner wherein he had some friends
Gusto ko
over?
'yun. Gusto ko 'yun.
So the friends were parang lambasting the town,
Yeah, yeah,
lambasting
yeah, yeah.
everything about small about motels and such. But
And
then there
stood
was a complete. I think it was for him. It was more like he finally accepted that no, this is where I live, and these
right,
people are my people, and you can no longer talk shit about them. I
right,
mean, diba? So parang I am owning up to the fact that this is
right.
where I that I'm not the same person I was anymore, that I don't have all the money anymore. So
I
alam
think
mo yun,
Mikey,
parang,
that's I think that's the major development for the dad eh. Pero tama ka, I agree na subtle lang, hindi siya masyadong ganun ka-apparent as compared to like Alexis, for example, or Moira. I think yung
Mhm.
scene na yun talaga that made me feel, oh gosh, parang he really owned up to the situation and hey, ano, di
Right.
ba kasi usually ano siya eh, parang ano ba 'to, parang forgiving lang siya all the time, patient lang siya. But now, he's like, "Hey, these are my friends. Ano kayo?" 'Di ba? Nung wala
Right.
ako, ano kayo, saan kayo? 'Di ba? Ito yung mga totoo kong kaibigan, 'di ba? Yun yung sinasabi niya dun, eh.
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
And
Pero
also,
nakakatawa you
yeah,
made
yeah.
mention of ano of Moira and then Alexis kasi I think maternal instincts. Eh. Nakakatawa kasi 'di ba may dalawang scenes na I think Alexis for example, well to me no, ang pinaka-favorite ko talaga na may maganda yung character development was Alexis really. Parang siya nag-stand out talaga sa akin na parang super I love her character because ang laki nung talon niya eh. Ang laki ng change niya, ng development niya at the end of the day. Gusto ko yung scene, Mikey, na she was confused what she was feeling for Ted ba or Matt? Ay, for Ted yata. Na she couldn't
Mm.
actually muster herself. She couldn't actually verbalize what it means. She couldn't even say that she misses Ted. She was technically describing what she was feeling. That she was like, I don't know what I'm feeling. Ganun. Pero I think it was David who said, or I don't know, nakalimutan ko na, ang dami na kasi, na parang, I think you miss him. Oh, I miss him. Parang na-confuse siya. And then si Moira din, when Alexis got sick, and she was like, this is ano ba to? This is paralyzing. This feeling, I don't understand what's going on. I'm well. You're sick. Di ba alala mo yun? This is parang debilitating or something, whatever. It's paralyzing me. I don't understand the sabi ni Alexis. I think it's maternal instinct or whatever. Sabi niya, no, it's not. Ganun pa siya, di ba?
In denial pa siya.
Oo.
But her
Yun.
poor Pepe girl was sick.
Ayun.
Correct.
Gusto ko yan.
Yeah, diba? And I think also David, this huge character development as well, diba? Because
Yeah.
I think I can relate more with Patrick's development.
Yeah.
Hi, John. Thank you for being here. Because, well, basically because his character is the one that I can relate the most to. Diba? So with Patrick, I mean with David kasi parang he's been in a lot of relationships and they've never
Yeah.
really worked out. And if you remember, his relationships have never lasted more than 3 months. That's why
It was
when
clear
Patrick
about
and
that.
David, correct, hit 4 months, there was a huge thing about it.
Oh, oh.
So I think that he was never able to really find love because he didn't.
Yeah.
I think he was always going after the person that wasn't deserving of his love
Yeah.
because he didn't love himself that much, you
Mm,
know.
mm.
Um, so and that's why he's always very protective of himself, and that's why I think he's always very snarky and
Yep.
very sarcastic and all of that. It's because he's basically protecting himself from being hurt by other
Mhm,
people,
mhm,
diba?
mhm.
So parang it's more of I hurt you first before you hurt me. So his character development was because of Patrick. He started believing that this could be a good thing. And
Yeah.
remember that conversation he had with Ted? That was a
Mhm. Aw,
realization for him as well. Because he said
super.
supposedly he was telling Ted, but he was actually telling himself.
Oo.
He said something like, you know what, no matter well, I'm paraphrasing by the way.
Yeah.
No matter what happens, there's a lot of shit that happens in the world, and we feel somehow that things don't work out. But actually there are some things that work out, you know? And if you've got it, then you gotta hold on to it. And that's when he
Oh,
realized that,
siya
hey,
mismo 'no?
I have a good thing with Patrick. And since Patrick had just told him that he loved him,
Sinabi na niya.
that's when he felt
Ay.
safe enough. No, no, no. I think he already loves Patrick. But
Oo, hindi rin niya masabi.
at that point, he finally accepted or he finally felt safe enough to say it back.
Finally.
Kasi when
Yeah.
you say I love you to someone, you're basically making yourself really vulnerable to them.
Super. Yeah.
Kasi, di ba, parang you are opening yourself up to them and opening yourself up to pain and possible rejection and
It's
whatever.
not
So
easy. Yeah.
it's not easy. So when he finally did that, that was one point of his what do you
Grabe.
call that? Of his character development. And I think
Yeah.
another character development, which you can see all throughout is that him becoming more what do you call that? I guess accepting of people and
Mm.
more patient with people. Because for
Super.
example, diba, parang if Stevie does something as maid of honor that he doesn't really agree with, and then nandun si Patrick, tapos sasabihin lang siya, oh, and so he's gonna change his tone, he's gonna change what he says. Alam mo yun? So parang
Mm.
he is now able to adjust more, and he willingly does so because yun nga, parang I think because of Patrick's love for him, then
Right.
he's more patient, he's more calm, and he's
Right.
more understanding as well. Kasi yun nga,
Right.
di ba? Parang when you experience love, I think that you become more yun, I guess you open yourself up to more as well. So
Right, right, right.
yun.
Mikey, I think just to add to what you said, I think there was this conversation when they were on their way to this cheese vendor and a girlfriend or ex-girlfriend ni Ted. Remember that scene? And then Alexis and David had that conversation. And then parang kinikwento ni Alexis na parang I got kidnapped by this, I don't know if it was the Somali pirates, whatever. But ang dami kasing eksena ni Alexis
Ang
eh.
dami.
Ang dami kasi na parang napunta siya sa isang regime ng isang sultan daw, whatever. Basta ang dami mga fun stories ni
Correct.
Alex, mga adventures niya.
Outrageous
Oh,
stories.
outrageous stories talaga. And then she was telling about this story na parang David, kasi nagbe-banter silang ganyan. He was saying na parang, you were not there. Keme, ganyan. I was there. But nobody even texted me. Ganyan. And then David was like, ang sabi ni David, parang, I was there. I was the one who parang talked to the consul, ganyan, whatever, or to the embassy. But I didn't have to tell you because you are my sister or something like that. I think it was in season 2. And then that made me realize na parang, I think, meron talagang, I mean, they have so much goodness in them. I mean, naturally, they have it in them. The thing is,
Yeah.
what's affecting their like manifesting personalities is basically yung external factors, like yung situation nila. They're rich, they're
Yeah.
wealthy, but they've always had that, goodness in them eh. Kaya nagma-manifest lang siya nung ando na sila sa town mismo. And
Yeah.
diba slowly alam mo yun, natatanggal na yung wall, and then parang they're becoming more of who they really are inside eh. Lumalabas ang totoong personalities. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Uy, may question si
And
si Lance before we sorry Mikey.
yeah, go ahead.
Before we actually parang discuss further. This is really interesting. Sabi niya if we got annoyed with season 1 daw, parang what made us got hooked to season 2?
Okay, so let me qualify that. I wasn't annoyed by the season. I was annoyed by the characters
Characters,
because of
yeah.
who they were and how selfish they were.
Right.
But I love the show. I love the season.
Season,
Which
yeah.
is that the things that they did, alam mo yun, yung parang, oh my God. Parang,
Nakakainit. Nakakainit na.
how are people this self-absorbed? How are people this self-ano? Alam mo yun, but of course you understand because
Yeah.
they've always had money, they've always had their way.
Yeah.
And when I think that was established in the first season actually,
Mm-mm.
that
Mm-mm.
they had so much money that they could practically get away with anything and could get whatever they wanted.
Right.
So
Right.
alam mo yun, spoiled brats talaga sila. So you can understand how they would think that people will
Oo.
just do their bidding or be at their beck and
Diba?
call and just
Yeah.
let them do their let them get away with shit. And
Tsaka
that is
medyo
why
ano,
yeah.
super naive pa. Yung tipong pag yung ang bababaw ng mga issues nila, like, ano ba yun? Mga, di ba? Yung mga kumot lang, ganyan. Yung bagahe nila
Correct.
nasa kama, ganun lang. Pero ilang taon na sila? Like, Alexis was like 28 and then 34 na si David dun
Yeah,
sa show.
yeah,
Parang what?
exactly.
Yun yung mga problema nyo.
Pero that's why I think well siguro I want to address one point that you said earlier Mona.
Yeah.
Regarding them the fact that they are so close and the fact and the reason why David is very concerned about Alexis is when they were growing up it was just the two of them. The parents were basically absent.
Super.
Diba? They even mentioned at one point in the series where you guys you guys didn't even visit us parang in the children's
Mm.
wing.
Mm.
Tapos parang ano no ayun parang Moira said something about I couldn't take care of you, we didn't see each other or something like that, and then David said something like the the baby, I don't know what you call it. It's like the kids' room, I guess, was on the other side of the house.
Grabe, no?
Grabe, like, oh my God. So,
Ang
ano,
lala.
and I think that's why they're very close to each other. So when
Yeah.
Alexis keeps, because she's very adventurous, and I think David was very awkward as a kid and as a teenager,
Yeah,
diba?
yeah. Mm.
So when Alexis is very adventurous. So when she's always away, he's always worrying for her. So alam mo yun, that's where the hugot
That's
came
why.
from.
That's
But I
why.
think growing up, it was just the two of them because their parents were never there.
Right, right, right,
And
right.
that's the good thing about, and that's one of the good things that I loved about this series as well. Because this is also speaking about character development, but also about the writing, because at the heart of it, it's really a love story.
Mm-mm.
Whether it be family love, sibling love, romantic love, you know,
Community
uh,
love, diba?
yeah, community love, right? And also brotherly love
Mm-mm.
or sisterly love, you know, all of those things, diba? Um, so, what was I gonna say? Because oh yeah, I remember. So at the beginning in season one, you will have a family that didn't really care about each other on the
Mm-mm.
surface, at least, and would always be, I guess, they would always be watching out for themselves.
Mm-mm.
But at the end of it, at season six, you realize that they really love each other. It's just that it took them a while to be able to demonstrate that because their whole life they didn't know how to demonstrate or manifest or even I guess declare that love for each other. Diba?
Yeah.
So parang 360 sila eh. Parang in the end
Full
we
circle.
realized that this is really a family that loves each other. And
Aww.
they went through a lot of shit, but and now they're parting ways. But even though they are going their separate ways, we know and we can rely on the fact that they truly are now a family.
Yeah. So magpapasko at mag-New Year, magkakasama yun definitely. Yun talaga yung iniisip ko eh. Like the series ended already and I was kind of hoping na gusto ko malaman ko ano nangyayari sa kanila. parang sana Pasko magkasama kayo. Ganon. May mga Thanksgiving kineme kayo, 'di ba? Whatever.
Correct.
But I like this question ni Lance kasi ako siguro yung experience ko naman But I wasn't really annoyed nung season 1. Not really. The characters, tama. I super liked season 1 because yun nga, a sense of empathy, parang you try to understand their situation and everything. Pero I really stuck, and then I went on with season 2 with no issue at all with the series. So yun yung premise ko. Ang maganda kasi doon yung transition kasi from season 1 kasi sa season 1 characters were established, the stories were established. So yung reaction natin, we're like annoyed of the characters. That's it. Parang, what's wrong with these people? But when we started watching season 2, it kind of changed. Eh. Alam mo yung, I'll make use of the analogy na, for example, pag iinom ka ng kape, di ba, pag super pait, parang you'd be reacting parang ba ito masyadong mapait. But if you add creamer and a bit of sugar, parang it kind of
Mm-hmm.
changes the blend of the coffee. And that's
Very
season 2
true.
too. Parang it kind of felt good and smooth for me. Nung season 1, I was laughing like it was so hilarious. But here, season 2, this is where the drama started eh. 'Di ba, Mikey? Parang lumabas na yung totoong mga personalities nila, and then you tried o parang you would hear stories of Alexis already, parang you see a bit of drama here and there, 'di ba?
Yeah.
So yun yung parang nakita kong transition, and it went on and on and on, and it continued hanggang season 6, yeah. Yun.
Yeah. Oh, siguro moving on to the writing as well.
Yeah.
So this was a family. Well, basically, it's a love story, diba? And Dan Levy also commented that this is not necessarily a comedy; it is a drama with comedic elements. That's what he
Sinabi na
said.
yun. True.
So, which is very true because there's a lot of drama here. There's a lot of
Super.
drama, and it's just that I think interlaced with the drama are some very funny moments. Like for example,
Yeah.
you would have scenes wherein you would be tearing up, and then there would be someone that would do something that would be so funny. Na, alam mo yun,
Babalik yung
parang-
luha mo.
it sometimes takes you on such a roller coaster, or maybe even a what do you call that? Yung sudden drop, like parang hi, tapos boom. Parang,
Ganun siya. Ganun
or
siya.
parang slow, tapos jump. Alam mo yun? Parang it takes you in sort of like a journey,
So true,
diba?
so
with
true.
your. So it's really really funny. Like siguro one case in point would be like the proposal scene, diba? So there, syempre, parang Patrick is
Right.
on one, diba? Patrick is down on one knee, and then he'd be saying something like, "I used to come here when I first moved here, and I was developing
Yes.
feelings for a guy, and feelings for me, or if I would ever muster up the courage to tell him that I liked him, diba? And now here he is,
Yee!
the man of my dreams, standing in front of me, and I thought that this would be the perfect place to ask him to marry me."
Yes!
And then, alam mo yun, parang it was a really tender and was a really
Super.
loving romantic moment. And then pasok si David in characters, looking at the rings and saying, "Is this 24 karat?"
Oh,
And I was like,
exactly.
I was like,
Oh my
God.
God.
Like, I mean, he was questioning whether the rings were 24 karat gold, which is classic David.
Super.
Diba? So alam mo yun, parang there are those moments, like seriously, diba? Or
And like, I
that
think
moment,
that's what
Yeah, go ahead.
makes the series really addicting, 'di ba? Kasi nga yung
Yeah.
blend na yun eh, na parang yung high lows na yun, plateau, biglang taas, baba, parang it
right.
really shook us in all places eh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yun.
yeah. Yung mga tender moments talaga. Like, and I remember a lot of the Patrick David scenes because I love
Uh-huh.
those scenes, diba?
Oh.
So one time, yung isa pang scene, diba? Parang, so David finds out that Patrick had a fiance. So they go
Uh-oh.
into the bedroom, and then Patrick says something like, "I feel like we have to talk about this."
Yeah.
And then David says something like, "No, I don't want to talk about it." And then Patrick says, "I feel that we need to, though." And then David says something like, "Oh yeah, I know. That's just something that I want to say in a moment like this. But yes, go ahead, carry on." Alam mo yun? So parang may mga ganon na mga moments. diba?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's I mean, the writing is because pag may pinasok na comedic scene or line or
Ah,
whatever, um, it feels so on point. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like
saktong-sakto.
I think yung sinabi mo kanina na hindi siya it's not forced, it's not prolonged, it's
Yeah,
not delayed. Alam mo yun, parang it hits all the right moments and all the right points. And their comedic timing is spot on as well. And
spot
y-
on.
if you
Yeah,
don't have a good script, no matter how good the actors are, it's gonna be
right.
shit. Alam mo yun?
Super,
But the
super.
script in this series was very, very good. I mean, also consider the attention to detail, diba? I mean,
Grabe.
the re-echoing of Simply the Best, for example.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
also, there's a few scenes wherein there's a callback to a previous episode, right? Or a
Mhm,
callback to
mhm.
one scene. Like, for
Yeah, yeah.
example, remember that scene wherein there was like a bazaar and
Mm.
then somebody copied their products, diba? Yung
Oo,
kasama ni Wendy, right?
oo.
And then
Galing nun.
David was saying something like, I think I've seen you before. Have you been to our
Right.
store? And then the guy kept denying. But then when we look back, he was actually in one scene walking
Actually.
around in the store while David
Super.
and Patrick were having this conversation about Ken.
Yeah,
Diba?
yeah.
So may mga ganon.
Pero Mikey,
May mga
did you
ganon
notice the
concept.
guy there? Dun sa, kasi it was an episode.
Initially, no, I didn't notice the guy because
Okay.
I was
Ako,
focused on that.
right. Ako napansin ko na siya na unusual kasi yung shot na parang pinasok sa frame yung guy. Pero normally kasi pag may dumadaan, usually it's blurred, 'di ba? Parang may
Uh,
bokeh effect ganyan kine. Tapos pag focus, or there must be a reason kung bakit medyo may sense of clarity yung guy doon. Sabi ko bakit ang weird? Sabi ko baka sa cinematography ang weird lang ng shot. And yun na nga, doon sa bazaar na, sabi ko now that makes sense. Kasi ako na-confuse ako doon na parang I'm supposed to be focused on Patrick and David, but here's this guy na umiikot. There must
in
be
the
a
background.
reason kung bakit pinasok siya
Mhm.
sa frame. Pero parang during sa episode yun, parang I was like, probably ako lang to. And then yun nga sa bazaar na yun, parang okay, kaya pala. Yun.
Yeah. And then, what do you call that? We're talking about callbacks. Oh, the Mariah Carey references, diba? So,
Oy.
when Patrick said "I love you," he also said that you are my Mariah,
Yun rin
diba?
Mariah. Oh.
And then, of course, during the wedding, he quotes Mariah and he sings Mariah,
Oh.
diba? And then, what else? The only time that David ever said "I love you" was twice to his parents,
Mm,
and once during a Mariah Carey concert. So, alam mo yun, parang the tribute to Mariah is there.
grabe.
Ayun. And also, diba, when they went up to the mountain for the proposal, he was also in the wedding vows. Like, I would climb 1,000 mountains for you, diba? You already know I would do that. So, ayun.
Oh.
Um, and also, yun nga, we talked about the character developments and the subtle changes in personality. And if you think about it, it's really, really very, very, very smart because
Mm,
when Daniel writes the script, he writes per season.
mm.
So, alam mo yun, parang um, still though, it felt very complete, very tight, very coherent.
Oo.
Everything that happens for a
Continue,
reason.
continuous
Walang patapon. Like seriously.
Ah.
And also, in terms of yung flexibility at saka yung adjustment, and this was fun to find out, was that Patrick's character was only supposed to be there for a couple of episodes,
Mm.
but during I think the last episode of the last season, that's when Dan realized that no, he's got to be in here longer. So he
Oh,
rewrote that scene, I think in the
oh,
car
yeah.
or one scene, or basically Patrick's character, so that he would become more of a regular thing. So
Mm.
yun, alam mo yun, parang ang galing, ang galing, ang galing. Oh, let's talk about lines. I think it was very smart when Dan talked about pansexuality without actually using the
Mm.
word pansexuality. So, diba, him and Stevie had a night together. And then they were in the store, and then Stevie says, you know what? I like red wine. I only like red wine. And up until yesterday, I thought that you only liked red wine. Or am I wrong?
Mhm.
And then Dan or David says something like, "Well, I do like red wine, but I also like white wine, and I've been known to sample the occasional rosé. And a couple of summers ago, I tried a Merlot that used
Ang
to be
dami
a Chardonnay."
sinabi.
And she was like, "Okay."
Oo,
And he was like, "Well, I'm more into the wine
ang
rather than the
galing,
label." That makes
ang
sense.
galing.
So anyway, ang galing. I was like, "Oh my god,
Super,
that's a really good analogy to actually
ang
explain
galing, ang galing.
pansexuality, or
Right.
maybe just I don't know sexuality in general, diba? Parang
And Mikey,
you like the
yun nga,
person not because of
right,
the bits that they have."
right. Pero maganda
Mm.
yung maganda kasi you made mention of pansexuality kasi some of the series that we've seen, they kind of like force the concept to the audience. Like they explain it as a concept, right? But here,
Yes.
it's a conversation. And sabi mo nga, the analogy of the wine, that makes more sense to the audience watching. So sa akin, parang ang ganda ng pagkakasulat because it's not really like super moot and academic na, hey, this is pansexuality.
But it's
Parang it
so
just presents,
understandable and relatable.
right?
And
Ganda.
actually, fun fact: there have been a lot of LGBT queer folk that have come
Yeah.
out to their parents and used that
So,
analogy.
yes,
Alam mo yun?
galing.
Parang, ang galing. And he didn't think, and I think nobody thinks that there would be that kind of impact when they write a story or something.
Mm,
Pero
mm.
when Dan found out about it, and I think it was in one of the videos that I saw, parang he really teared up. Like parang, oh my God, like it's
Oy.
making such a huge impact, di ba? So parang,
Right,
yun.
right.
Ang galing lang talaga. Ang galing lang
Super,
talaga.
super. Mikey, I'd like to go back to our speak room session with sino si Thais and then Direct Vince, 'di ba? Yung queer representation. And I think yung desire natin to have queer people write our own stories, right? Parang I think that manifested so much in Schitt's Creek because Daniel Levy is like gay, 'di ba? I mean, he's open about that. In real life, as a
Yeah.
character, David, he's pansexual. But because he knows these stories, these shared experiences, parang it felt so genuine and authentic when he wrote it. And even his
Yes.
experience. And that's why siguro it's a success as a series because it meant so much. I'd like us to go back to that discussion kasi nga totoo na kung magsusulat ka lang ng script na hindi mo naman kwento based lang sa mga naririnig mo, baka masyadong
Right.
curated yung dating. Pero ito
Yeah.
kasi totoong nangyayari, 'di ba? So kaya siguro to me parang that's why it's a success because it felt real and genuine and authentic. At least sa atin dalawa parang super
Yeah.
we're there.
Kasi yun nga, di
Yeah.
ba? Parang, it is it's a story with a lot of queer elements in it, written by a
Mm.
queer person. And so that's why
Yeah.
it's very
Yeah.
relatable. And
Super.
fun fact din, di ba? Parang, the things that Alexis went through, pretty much a lot
Ah.
of them
Oo.
Dan Levy went through in his real
Oo.
life.
Yung
So
sabi na,
parang
'di ba?
Alexis is him in the
Yeah,
series.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
parang medyo may switcheroo na nagagawa
Right.
doon.
Right, right, right,
Pero
right.
I was gonna say something else. I forgot. I lost my train of thought. But regard regarding the story there, if I remember, I'll break it up. Um, pero Lance is also asking if you will rate your shocked moments. Ano rating no? What do you mean?
Yung
Shocked
mga ano natin,
moments.
yung mga ano nga ba? Yung mga
Shocked
siguro
moments.
mga high lows or mga high scenes siguro, I guess. Yun ba yung
Well,
sinasabi?
siguro hindi naman shocked moments eh. But I guess the moments that made an impact to me because either one, I was kinikilig ako sa love ni na Patrick at saka ni David.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sige, siguro that's one aspect. No? In terms of kilig, solid 10 out of 10.
Yes.
Kilig talaga ako.
Super!
Lalo na pag si Patrick. Super kilig na kilig ako.
Yes!
In terms of, let's say, comedic, it's way up there as well. Alam mo yun, so parang there are tens as well. There are
Yeah.
tens as well in terms of yung mga comedic scenes and elements. Um, I think that's it, really. Hmm.
I think nasabi mo na rin, Mikey, eh. Like, yung mga comedic scenes were like spot on. Parang hindi ko
Hmm.
masasabing kulang or sobra eh. Parang talagang they nailed it. Like, there, right then and there. So ako,
Yeah.
ako yun. Siguro, I have to bank onto what you said. Yung mga kilig moments. And I'd like to go back to what we've been reviewing, yung mga series na, o BL, di ba? Kasi yung mga BL
Mhm.
parang made us feel young, made us, it brought us back to our high school days, whatever. Ito kasi,
Mm.
parang kwento natin to eh. Di ba, Mikey? Parang there are like, they're
Because
like
they're
30
adults
adults na. And these are real life experiences
in
na
the real
super
world.
relatable sa atin. They're working, they have their own business, and they're all like
The
down
struggle
there.
is real.
Diba? So kaya siguro ako, hindi naman siguro siya shook moments, but it's a validating moment. These are validating moments for me that I'm
Mm.
assured that I'm okay because they're also okay. Parang ganun yung nararamdaman ko na parang,
Yeah.
yeah, kinikilig kayo dyan.
Kasi
Ay,
pag
kinikilig ako kasi feeling ko
super.
mangyayari ito sa akin. Parang ganun. I don't know. Yeah.
Whoa.
Sure
I
lang.
think you mentioned at one point na you
Oo.
still believe that there are Patricks out
Oo.
there.
Oo.
Diba? And I believe that
Super.
too. I believe that there are Patricks in the world. And I think at
Yes.
one point we have been Patricks to
Mm-mm.
other people.
Mm-mm.
And hopefully there are more Patricks that emerge or people become
Yes.
more like Patrick. I guess
Yeah.
at least.
My question ako, Mikey. Parang did you
Hmm.
ever think that the series or some of the scenes were kind of idealistic? Parang did you ever think na parang masyado naman tong hindi makatotohanan?
Okay.
Naisip mo ba yun?
That's one of the things that I also wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
When you mentioned idealistic, my mind immediately went to this is an ideal world, actually,
Mhm.
because this is a world where homophobia does not exist.
Yes.
Alam mo
Yes.
yun? So parang in the real world, there's a lot of people with homophobia. And sometimes
True.
there's internalized homophobia as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And there are microaggressions that even within the community, people do
Mhm.
to each other.
Mhm.
Maybe unbeknownst to them, or maybe
Yeah.
inadvertently, or maybe intentionally, but it happens. Diba? Pero in the Schitt's Creek world, there is really no homophobia. It is
Oo,
really
talaga.
just about relationships between
True.
any person, any individual. It's about problems with work, problems with the community, problems with running a business, mga ganun ba, mga bagay, di ba? So in that sense, yes, it is kind of idealistic, but I think what it does is it gives us a view of what the world could be like if there
Mhm.
was no homophobia or if there
Right.
was no judgment because of your sexuality or because of your
Totally.
gender orientation.
Totally.
Diba? And then what we see is basically stripped down. It's just
Mhm.
basically regular problems. Diba? Problems that any person would have.
Regular
Diba?
lang.
So parang yun yung gusto ko dun eh. And that's what I liked about it. It's
Right.
because parang it really focuses on just what is happening versus kasi parang a lot of what we've seen, and we talked about this in the spectrum as well, and I think we see it here as well, diba? Na parang whenever a queer story is told, it is always told through the lens of pain or tragedy or suffering, diba? Or
Ah,
ano mo yun, parang laging masama, or they don't end up together, or somebody
right.
dies, or
Yeah,
the
yeah,
parents
yeah.
are against it, or society doesn't accept them, yung mga ganun bagay. But here, I mean, there's nothing like that.
Right.
And
Wala talaga.
Dan said he wrote it intentionally that way
Mhm.
because he felt that it would be good if, for example, there was a person out there who might have opposing beliefs or
Mm.
who might have reservations or something against the LGBTQ community, is to
Mhm.
see that, or at least to start asking themselves why they see things the way they see things, or
Mhm.
why, or to at least question, oh nga, what if, parang this is something that happens, or what do you call that? Basically, start considering their belief system, di ba? Na parang tama ba yung ginagawa ko? Tama ba na parang kinakastigate ko sila? Kasi parang dito sa ano naman, parang okay naman sa kanila eh. So, baka okay naman talaga. Baka ako lang yung may kailangan baguhin sa sarili ko, right? You know, something like that. So, and I really like that, diba? It's very unusual for any series to go that route, na walang homophobia at all. But I think it's a very good angle. Kasi again, it shows us what the world could be like. Yun. And I really appreciated that about Dan Levy. And you mentioned kanina na when you write something, you have to write it from your own experience. Yan din yung sinabi ni Dolly Dulu, di ba? So parang write what you know. Because if you don't write what you know, like you mentioned, Nico, it's going to be curated. It's not going to be authentic. And it's not going to be, it's not going to be real, not really. Yeah. So yeah. I think you're on mute. I can't hear you. Ayan, so guys, narinig niyo ba ako? Can you say yes if you can hear me? Because I can't hear Nico. Ayan. Hello?
Hello? Hello,
Yes,
can
I
you
can
hear
hear you
me?
now. I can hear you
Better.
now.
Weird. What
May
happened?
delay. May delay ka.
Hello, how about now?
Nauna yung audio mo, nag-delay yung video mo.
Oh my God. Hello. How about now? Chuck. Yes? Can you hear me?
Ayan, on time na, on time na, yes.
On time na. Perfect. It's the internet. I'm sorry. Okay, so ano ba wala tuloy ako sa sinasabi ko? I think you made mention of
Thanks, man.
yung ideal world, whatever, di ba? Parang, I think maganda yung pagka-present. I think the representation of the ideal space or world wasn't too lofty eh. It wasn't too ambitious. It wasn't too high over there. It was just presented, sabi mo nga, what could be if this happened. So, that's the reason also na parang tinanong ko siya. Kasi parang, is it bad to have idealistic scenes? Not necessarily. Parang ang impact kasi dun sa Schitt's Creek is that we kind of like hoped and we were kind of like assured that what if we do these things, then this is something that could happen if ito yung response or ito yung reaction or interaction natin at the end of this. It wasn't too lofty eh. So some series kasi kind of went that route na very lofty, very ambitious, very high over there, na parang hindi na ganun ka-realistic. Ito kasi parang it's still grounded, but sabi mo nga parang it's presented in a way na we're actually given or presented a scene that is possible. Diba? If we react to it in a positive manner, diba? So, yun. So ako natanggap ko siya. Like even nga si Patrick, the character, I was like thinking in my head na, is he too idealistic? Is he too perfect? Not necessarily kasi may mga ano din siya, may mga topak din siya dun sa mga episodes, eh, 'di ba? Yes. And parang we've met people, guys like him na who'd be so candid about it. Na parang especially yung kissing scene nila sa car na parang, hey, I've never done this with a guy, but thank you for making it happen for us. Na parang, alam mo ang super. Grabe lang.
There was one scene. So in terms of, I mentioned na walang homophobia, di ba? Pero one of the things that this series did as well was to show a coming out scene for Patrick, di ba? Kasi he talked to his parents about it. But I think yung pagka-present ng issue was more of him being afraid that he will get rejected rather than the actual rejection per se, di ba? Kasi apparently he's... Okay, sorry, spoiler, Lance. Siguro I won't focus on that. I'll focus on the admission, di ba? Because yun nga, the time when David found out about Rachel, diba? So they were talking in the cabin, in the room, and then he said, the reason why I didn't tell you that I had a relationship with someone was that because I didn't want it to affect what we have. And he said, what? You have nothing to worry about. There, no matter how hard I tried with her, it just never felt right. And up until recently, I didn't understand why. So, David, I spent most of my life not knowing what right felt or feels like.
Aw.
Diba? And then I met you, and then everything changed. You make me feel right.
Yes!
I-
Kainis!
Aside from one of the most romantic things that I've ever heard, outside of the Downton Abbey special.
Yes!
Oh no,
Just
Downton Christmas special. But anyways,
yeah.
I think that was a very loaded statement, diba? Kasi
Mhm.
for a lot of people who are maybe struggling with their sexuality, they don't they just know that something is wrong, diba? Na parang um I don't like this girl eh. Parang, and I don't know why. Or I don't like this guy eh, and I don't know why. Because when you meet that person who is right for you, then everything will fall into place. It will feel right, diba? And that's the same with sexuality, diba? So parang if you're unsure yet of what you are, you don't have to force it. When it
Yeah.
feels right, that's when you will know kung ano talaga yung gusto mo or kung ano ka talaga or kung sino ka
Right.
talaga, diba?
Mhm.
So, and that's the thing eh. For us, diba? That phrase, I never felt right until I met you. So people pretending to be another type of sex or another type of gender um, will never feel right, diba?
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Mhm.
as parents, we shouldn't force. I'm not a parent, but I'm saying parents shouldn't force their children to um, to be someone that they're not, because they will never feel right doing that,
Exactly. Exactly.
diba? So, ganda ng scene na yun eh. Parang ang dami ko pang thoughts,
Super,
pero parang hindi ko na ma-verbalize. Pero super, super important yun talaga sa akin, yung ano na yun. And
super.
that's another thing eh. That's another thing. That's another message that this show is talking about. Di ba? Na parang, for you guys, mali yung nararamdaman namin. Pero para sa amin, ito yung tama. Ito
Mm-mm.
yung totoo.
Mm.
Ito yung kami. Di ba? So parang, why should you force us into marrying someone that we don't love,
Right.
diba? Or
Right.
being someone that we're not, diba? So, yeah.
Mikey, okay na mic ko? Like, can you hear me?
Super okay.
Okay, perfect. Weird. Internet lang talaga yon. Okay. Globe, baka naman, no? Globe kami pareho ni Mikey, no? So, baka naman.
Yes,
Sure lang.
baka naman, Globe. So yun. So I think we talked about the acting. Well,
Yeah.
the character development, pero the
Yeah.
acting super on point,
Wala na akong
diba?
masabi. I mean,
Wala
wala
na
na
akong
akong comment.
masabi.
As
I think
in.
the Emmys and the 5
Ay,
award-giving bodies have already told us. Catherine
yes.
O'Hara, Queen,
Yes.
Alexis, Queen, David,
Right.
Eugene, Kings, like
Uy,
super.
but super, I don't know.
Ang
I
galing
think it's
nila.
worth it to, worthy to, like, make mention of these awards ng Emmys na lang, no? Marami pa mga
Eugene,
awards eh, di
King.
ba, Mikey? So I think,
Yeah, the SAG Awards, the
yeah.
that's a Screen Actors Guild Award, the Critics'
Mhm.
Choice. I think yeah, a lot. Super,
Yeah.
super galing na acting nila.
For
And the
Emmys lang,
production.
like I'll make mention na lang of the Emmys kasi Emmys like a big awarding body talaga. If they won, like, this was in 2020 last year, diba?
Yeah.
So they won outstanding comedy series. They won outstanding lead actor in a comedy series, Eugene Levy. Outstanding lead
Yep.
actress in a comedy series, Catherine O'Hara. Outstanding supporting actor in a comedy series, Dan Levy. Outstanding supporting actress in a comedy series, Annie Murphy. Uh, Outstanding directing for a comedy series. Dalawa pala sila dito, Mikey, no?
Mm.
Dan Levy, and then I forgot the name of the director. Sorry. And outstanding writing for a comedy series. Ang dami nun. As in, super nanghako talaga sila. 'Di ba?
Yeah.
Yes.
And well deserved, well deserved, di ba?
Super, super.
Kasi, I mean, I cannot fault the acting at all. They
Yes.
can
Same.
they can make you cry, they can make you laugh, they can annoy you to no end. Ang galing lang talaga nila, versatile,
Agree,
super, di ba?
agree.
And I think the way that it was written and the way that it was acted,
Mm-mm.
like we mentioned about annoying yung characters, but then you grow to love them because
Super effective.
of super effective yung acting nila and ang ganda ng script.
Yeah.
It all ties together really really well. So that's why you
Right.
can't really, alam mo yun, like separate one from the other. You
Mm.
know, so galing lang talaga. And the production was really really high, especially in the costume department. They were
Oo,
even
die.
recognized. They
Super
were
love
even
the
recognized by
costume.
Vogue as best dressed.
'Di ba?
I think I think they were recognized by Vogue. I think it was mentioned in one of the videos. Pero
Ah.
yun nga, di ba? Parang, I mean, I don't get David. I don't get his clothes, but I like him. Sorry. The
I think
dad.
yung ano,
Quoting the
I
dad.
think I think yung eccentricity talaga niya, yun naman yung na-pronounce dun sa sweater craze niya, 'di ba? Na parang
Oo.
si Jared Leto daw binigyan siya ng sweater whatever. Ang daming mga sweater. And ang cute, Mikey. I posted something on Twitter. 10 Easter eggs na siguro na miss out natin. Parang
Yes.
um
Oo.
I think in season 6, speaking of the sweater, yung costume naman, parang there was an ode to the sweater of David. Kasi sa likod, alam mo yung eksena na nag-uusap na sila about the
The
wedding day.
shelf.
Yes! Hindi ko alam yun. Sabi ko, oh my gosh, na-miss out ko yun.
Me too. I actually
Galing
missed
lang.
that out until the
Yeah.
video told me about it.
Cute.
Um, and
Super.
also the ano, di ba, out of the goodness of her heart, Alexis gave her clothes to Twyla, di ba? So
Yeah.
makikita natin yung black dress na sinuot niya sa I think sa party
Season,
ng ni Moira, yung birthday
season 1.
ni birthday na
Yeah,
sinuot ni Twyla sa wedding, di ba? And then
true.
the pink dress that she wore in the pilot episode was also
Yeah.
worn by Twyla. So yung mga ganun. Tapos yun, that's another thing with the character development, di ba? Parang initially, she was all about, they were very materialistic, di ba? So it was all about money. But then when Twyla offered Alexis money, or extra money, she declined. And then she just
Yeah.
said, no, use it to come visit me, di ba? So parang, ang ganda ng character development nila. Very, very
Super.
good.
Mike,
And
di ba, like, ano, sorry, in terms of like acting, kasi di ba, like, whenever we do series reviews, and let's admit it, na we kind of like sometimes feel na, ano ba tong acting na tong mga to? Parang we're kind of not, sometimes we're there, but sometimes we're not there. Parang acting's kind of not there. Alam mo yun? Yung kunwari, the character portrays to be this mataray na, I don't know,
oh
personality.
yeah, I get
And
it.
then
I
biglang,
get what you're saying.
alam mo yun?
Correct.
Tapos biglang parang,
Mayaman ko
ano ba?
no, pero my
Maraming
God,
puno.
baluktot mag-English.
Exactly. Yung mga ganong inconsistencies.
I mean,
Sometimes,
sorry, let me rephrase that. Lumaki sa States ko no, pero
uh,
bulol naman mag-English.
di ba?
Yes, that's it.
So yung mga ganyan, yung mga ganyang inconsistencies. Sometimes we see that. And sometimes we fill in these gaps whenever we watch these series or movies, di ba? But here, as in,
Nothing.
wala
On
talaga.
point.
On
On point.
point. Like, hey girl, wala na akong masabi. As in, makikinig ka na lang talaga. As in, mag-enjoy ka na lang. Yun.
I didn't see any flaw, actually.
Wala.
And I consider myself to be a very discerning individual. May ganon. Well, of course, I'm not perfect. Pero at least to my eye, parang ang galing ng talaga, ng
Yeah.
lahat. Siguro, siguro there were some things that I wondered about, pero it's not a biggie. Siguro I was just curious. Like, remember that scene where Roland left the baby in Rose's apothecary, and then a vendor came over, a buyer came over, and then they promised to meet at a baby shower. So I actually wanted, or no, I was expecting that there would be a scene at the baby shower with Roland's baby there, pero that didn't happen. So I guess I was looking for that. Pero again, it's not a fault or a flaw. Syempre,
Right.
nasa kanila naman yun eh, di ba? Pero I was wondering about that. Ano pa? I was also wondering what happened to Mutt because he disappeared at
Same.
the latter end of the series.
Mm-mm,
This
mm-mm.
is not a flaw at all. Ha? Parang these are just some things that I'm wondering about, and
Question.
maybe could be answered in maybe another episode or a movie or whatever. Ayan.
Mm-mm.
Yun. And also Ted. I want to know what happened to Ted. So I guess I'm talking about the continuation na ngayon, ano?
I
Like,
guess. I guess.
if there's gonna be a continuation, what happened to
Right, right,
them?
right.
Yeah.
Pero I think I get your drift. Parang may
But
mga
that's it.
I have to admit this, pero hindi naman siya bummer actually. Pero ako in my head, I'm like it's a drama sitcom. So I think that's the genre. It doesn't have to explain everything to us. Parang it's left sometimes to the audience. Kasi may mga scenes like what you mentioned. May mention ka pa kanina, nakalimutan ko na. Na biglang nagtatanong ka na, ayun, yung event na supposedly pupuntahan nila Moira, but they kind of
Mm-mm.
decided to go to the graduation, and then the jazz gals na parang presented and then they sang there. Na parang ano nangyari doon? Parang wala namang eksenang kinancel nila yung event na yun, di ba? So parang it's left to the audience to decide na parang okay, it was canceled anyway. So parang may mga ganong scenes actually. I was kind of like nitty-gritty about it na parang ba't hindi nilagay? Parang siguro ang mindset ko was drama genre mindset. Parang in my head na
Mm-mm.
lang, parang okay, that's not major kasi hindi naman tayo eksperto dito sa genre na to. Diyos ko, manonood lang naman tayo, di ba? So, tama yung sabi
Yeah.
mo, parang it's more of like a question lang. We're kind of like wondering what happened there. Parang, ano ba yun? Parang we wanna know. Bakit walang
Yeah.
ganong eksena, di ba? So, that's just us. Hindi naman kailangan
Yeah.
like eksenang ganon, di ba?
Pero yun nga, parang, I mean, it's not something that I
Yeah.
dwelt on. I cannot English right now. Parang hindi ako na masyadong nag-dwell doon. Parang it was just a passing, parang, what about, parang nag-wonder lang ako. Yan. Nawala na
Yeah.
sa isip ko.
Pero you
Yun.
made mention also, Mikey, of the reception, which I agree also. Kasi, after parang they left the town hall, diba? After the wedding. And then I was expecting na
Oh,
merong
yes.
reception.
I was hoping that there would
Usually
be a
ganun yung
reception
progression eh.
scene, like a dance at
As
least.
in, diba? Parang nabitin lang ako doon. Na parang, hala, bakit ganun? Pero in one of the interviews I saw, kasi ang dami nating mga pinapanood ng mga interviews, ang random talaga natin manood on
Correct.
YouTube, diba? I mean,
At saka YouTube naman kasi nagsasuggest eh. Parang hindi mo naman
Right.
pinili, biglang naka-cue, tapos
Right.
magpa-play na lang bigla.
Diba? So parang in one of the interviews, I forgot which one that was. Marami may Miss Mojo, whatever, ganyan. I forgot yung host dun eh. Parang I think napahapyawan lang ni Dan Levy na parang he kind of wrote that way because for us to not be so there na parang we're not like ecstatic about it. It's not an ecstasy daw, sabi. Parang we're just on the
Yeah.
ground. Well, which tama
Yeah.
naman. Pero ako, I was kind of hoping na, sana may reception man
Ibigay
lang.
mo na, di ba?
Ibigay mo na.
Itodo mo
season
na.
na to eh.
Oo, di ba? Parang huli na yan eh. Parang,
Oh.
sana, I was hoping for a wedding dance. Like, really.
Oh. Kahit
And
yun
then
lang.
more tearing up.
Right!
Diba?
Exactly. But parang, okay.
And yes, because you mentioned that, I was wondering, like, how did they spend their wedding night? Because, diba, parang they went out, parang they stepped out of the town hall, and then suddenly the
Right.
next scene is the morning after, and then David
Oo.
and Patrick were wearing their wedding clothes, and I'm
Same.
like, so they slept at the motel
Oo.
with their clothes on.
Ang kukyoho
I was like,
nila.
Diba? What did they do? Or maybe they just,
Oo.
maybe they just talked all night. But that's the thing, eh, parang, so that's a question mark for me. Like, what happened there? So that's why I was hoping there was a reception. Para alam natin kung ano nangyari after. Yeah. But again, no biggie. It was
Di
just,
talaga.
It was just a question in
We're
my
good.
head.
We're good.
We are so good. Oh, and speaking of, di ba we mentioned callbacks kanina. Di ba the sign of the town, initially it was the Schitt family, and then at the end, it was the Rose family. So, parang where everyone fits in, yung naging signage.
Oh,
so yun, there was another callback. And I think it was a beautiful
Beautiful.
pass of writing as well. Diba? So parang just to tie it all up together, diba? Kasi parang they're not only a family in concept, but they're also a family visually in the town. And it
Yes.
also, I mean, that signage also is a testament to how the town accepted them as being part of the community. So,
Right. Right.
yun, diba? David with his eccentricities, and then Alexis
Yes.
with
Yes.
her same. I don't know what it's called.
Ew, David.
Ew, David. Mga ganon, diba? So yun, parang no matter how weird you are, as long as you open yourself up to others, you will find a community and they will love you as much as you love them.
Yeah.
Yun.
I was kind of wondering, Mikey, kasi 'di ba rural yung town eh. Schitt's Creek is a rural town,
Yeah.
'di ba?
Mhm.
Hindi nila sinabi na Canada actually eh. Hindi naman sinabing
No,
states. Or there was no
no,
mention of like
no, not at
Canada or
all.
something. Pero come to think of it, like not to stereotype or anything. If you go to a rural place, it's kind of traditional and conservative, 'di ba? And yun
Yes.
yung pumasok sa isip ko na parang homophobic possibly. Pero
Mhm,
hindi
yeah.
eh. Parang it felt like the community was open, was just candid. They didn't mind who you are, like in terms of your
Right.
sexuality. Parang you're here, okay, let's have fun. Ang tawa-tawa tayo, and then we have our own problems here and there, diba?
Right.
It felt assuring to me, like the series, the entire series, na parang, oy, diba? Na
I think that's a
parang,
good word. Yeah, it felt assuring. Eh. Like parang
mm-mm.
you were safe. Na even if you, for
Yes,
example, were different, parang you wouldn't need to feel ostracized or
yes,
weird about
yes,
it. So yeah, and and that's what we want to build as a community, diba? Or
yeah,
as a universe, rather. Char, diba?
right.
Parang we want a safe environment for everyone, not just the
Definitely,
LGBTQ community, but
definitely.
everyone who is different. Like it can be a
Right,
person with a disability, it can be a person,
right.
let's say, who is differently able, or, ay mga ganun bagay. So, I think in that aspect, ganun yung universe na dinevelop
Yeah.
ni Dan,
Mm-hmm.
Levy, diba? And if there's any problems, it's just because there's a lack of communication, or maybe they just
True.
think about
And that's it.
themselves.
Mm.
And yeah, and that's basically it, diba? Parang
Pero,
it's
Miki,
just not connecting.
ang
Mhm.
ganda nung pagka-elevate ng content. Kasi, like, tayo, like in the Philippines lang, di ba? We see the boom in BLs, right? And we're kind of like, I don't know, like, clamoring for more queer LGBT content. We're so hard on it, 'di ba? Na parang more
Yes,
LGBT
absolutely.
content, BL content kasi nasa Pilipinas ito yung parang konteksto or context natin, 'di ba? Pero ang ganda nung series ng Schitt's Creek because it was elevated to what you said, it's diversity, it's inclusion, it's
Right,
community, it's the universe, the world. But wala nang sinasabing LGBT, wala nang sinasabing black, babae ka, wala nang ganun. Parang we are one
right.
community. And it's a
Yeah.
whole different content eh, altogether. That's why it's
Mhm.
beautiful. Pero parang we're kind
Yeah.
of like uprooted from where we are now na parang we're clamoring for LGBT, ganun, na parang wait lang, there's something bigger eh. Parang hindi lang ito yung dapat pinaglalaban natin. And then Schitt's Creek kind of like showed us that eh. That's why siguro we love it. Buti
Mhm.
made mention of that eh, na parang it's an elevation of a content eh. So I don't know if it's a whole different genre, probably content lang siya talaga, but it's a whole
Yeah.
different thing. Yeah. Yes.
Ayun nga eh. It's a good thing that you mentioned that, diba? Kasi the current wave of BLs,
Mm.
or what do you call that? I think it's more like a tsunami. Kasi ang dami, diba? Ang daming BLs, right? But
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of BLs out there that focus not too much on the story, but on the sex, you know?
Yes.
And
Mm-mm-mm.
the reason why I like Schitt's Creek, sige, backgrounder muna. Let me backtrack a little bit. I think there are a lot of BLs that are coming out these days that are probably, well, not to my liking. Because number one, I've grown a bit saturated.
Yeah.
And when I see a new BL, I always wonder what it is, but I don't get the same excitement that I did before.
The same.
Because whenever I watch, let's say, the first episode or I watch the trailer, it doesn't feel like it's something that would teach me something,
Yeah.
right? And I feel sometimes, or a lot of the time, that it is pretty much one-dimensional. Like I've seen it
Mm-hmm.
before, that there's not going to
Mm-hmm.
be anything new, or oh
Yeah.
my god, it's going to be focusing on the
Right.
sex and not
Right. Right.
necessarily telling the story
You're
or
here.
sending a message, diba?
Yeah.
So that's why when I saw Schitt's Creek, I was thinking, these are the kinds of stories that we should actually be telling, not
Yes.
necessarily BL per se, diba?
Mm-hmm.
Kasi
Mm-hmm.
as Dan Levy mentioned, nga, this is a drama with comedic elements. And if you
Mm-hmm.
think about it, the love story of Alexis and Ted is just as up there with the love story of Patrick and David.
Yes.
It's just that
Yes.
I, as a queer person, relate more to the love story of Patrick and
Right.
David. But those two
Mm-hmm.
love stories were in parallel to each other when they were
Right.
being told,
Right.
right? That they had different endings, but they were both great love stories. So
Same. Yeah.
if you take a look at it, you will not see one sex scene at all.
Wala talaga at all.
People
Wala.
believe and production outfits believe that the more skin that you show and the more sex you sell, the better it is going to be for you. Maybe in terms of viewership, yes, but in terms of the messaging and in terms of the content,
Yes.
I think we have to go beyond that
Right.
because
Right.
I mean, if I want to watch sex, I can just go to Pornhub. I can just Google it,
Exactly.
diba? But
Exactly.
if I want a great love story, if I want a great LGBTQIA plus or queer story, I am hard pressed to find it. So I am so happy, di ba? So I am so happy that
Yeah.
Schitt's Creek because it gave me all of that and
Right.
more.
Right.
And I know it's 6 seasons and it's a lot of episodes, so there's a lot of story to be told. But we have seen stories that were told in 8 episodes, in 12 episodes, and they were
What the
great love stories. They were great career stories, diba? And okay, sige na, pera-pera talaga tayo today, diba?
Mhm,
Admit
mhm.
na natin yun. And a lot of studios are doing it for the money talaga because it's a
Mhm,
pandemic and we all have to earn,
mhm,
right? But then
mhm.
again, do we really need to show them in
Yes.
their in their boxers the entire time?
Skimpy outfits, sure.
Alam mo yun,
Yes.
parang is there is there is there a need to show that much skin?
Uh-huh.
Alam mo
Uh-huh.
yun? Alam mo yun? Parang, I mean, admittedly, and I'm a sexual being, diba? So admittedly, I like these scenes. But then again, parang if this is the sole purpose of this story to show skin, to
Mhm,
earn,
mhm.
then I'm actually much better off not watching it and
Yeah.
watching something else.
Yeah, yeah.
Diba? And admittedly, this is why personally, I don't watch a lot of BLs
Mhm.
anymore.
Same.
It's because it's all the same thing now,
Wala
and
nang nagbago.
it's all pretty much the same mold and
Mhm,
the same focus, diba?
mhm, mhm, mhm.
So hopefully, magbago ulit yung ihip ng hangin because
Yeah,
yung 'di ba, yung first wave ang ganda ang ganda ng simula. And then I
true.
think because it is a moneymaker, people went back into okay, we gotta make money. So, sapakan natin ng
Sayang,
sexy, sapakan natin ng
sayang.
mga ganitong bagay, right? So there is a way for something to be sensual without it necessarily showing skin.
Yeah, yeah.
Are we not? Yeah. So yun. Also consider the audience that is watching these shows are younger and younger because everyone
Mhm.
has access to YouTube. Everyone has a phone.
True.
So and they can basically switch off like I don't know, parental what do you call that restrictions and whatever because their
Totoo,
parents are not going to be policing what they're watching all the time, right?
totoo.
So it's very important that we build stories that uplift the community, that
Mm-hmm.
send a message of respect,
Yeah.
especially to people not of the community. Because when
Mm.
they see BLs and all they see is people humping each other, it basically perpetuates the message that that's what the LGBTQIA plus community is all about. That we all have
Yeah.
sex on the brain. That di ba, hayok tayo sa titi and all of that. But that's
Yeah.
not it. Eh. We want them to see us as human beings. We want them to see us as respectable, dignified, loving
Dignified. Yeah.
human beings. Di ba? So,
Mm-hmm.
oh, and also what I liked about the story of Schitt's Creek is that basically everyone in that community is respectful.
Super.
Di ba? No matter what sexuality you have.
Mm-hmm.
Kasi what's as important as showing a respectable queer character is showing respectable non-queer characters and the way that
Mm-hmm.
they interact with queer characters. Because
Yeah.
if, for example, I'm a straight, if, for example, well, let's say there's a straight individual and they watch a non-queer show, but
Mm-hmm.
it has a queer character. So how the straights in that show treat the queer character is basically something that the non-queer person can learn from. So if all
Yeah.
they see is, I think sa
Agree.
MMFF, there
Agree.
was a controversial movie because of
Uh-huh.
how
Yeah.
the straights treated a trans
Reacted.
character.
Yeah. Yeah.
Correct. So the straight community, when they watch that, will think that it's okay to treat a straight character this way. So that's why
Yeah.
it's important
You're
to
here.
not only write
You're here.
accurate and proper queer characters, but
Yeah. Yeah.
also represent respectful, di ba? And, parang, what do you call that? Yung parang accepting and inclusive non-queer characters.
Right. 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 Right.
Sana
And it's
ma-elevate natin yung industry natin.
And it's not a big risk, I think, Mike. Ito na nga parang babalik na naman tayo sa spectrum talaga natin. Kasi this is a very good discussion, really. Kasi ang question dun, is our goal to make money or is our goal to change society? Andun lang naman di ba? Although sinasabi naman ng ibang directors like the likes of Direct Rod Singh, di ba? Na parang pera-pera pa rin talaga yan kahit ano pang gawin natin at the end of the day. Pero hindi lang puro pera ang pinag-uusapan sana natin, 'di ba? Na para ano bang kabuluhan nitong ginagawa natin? Gumagawa ka ng pelikula at serye for what? 'Di ba? Para lang maengganyo ang mga tao. And sa mangyayari, masa-stuck na lang yung mga tao dun sa kinalalagyan nila, sa bubble nila na kung ano man yun, na puro sexual stuff lang and all, 'di ba? Parang
Yeah.
good that we are discussing this. We're debunking the perception of these production houses na nakukulong lang dun sa idea na dapat may skin lagi, may halikan here and there, kung ano yung mold na yun, di ba? Na we can actually elevate the story to something that will benefit everybody at the end of the day. Na posible pala, di ba? Through Schitt's Creek.
Yeah.
Di ba? Na parang, kaya nga ako parang, buti nga, we're discussing this, parang it kind of assured me more that, hey, if Schitt's Creek can do it, parang other production houses can actually do it. It's not really an issue of us being traditional or being too conservative Parang we have to start the movement just like how BL started last year, 'di ba? Ang ganda nung simula, sabi mo nga, 'di ba? Why can't we elevate and go somewhere else and parang redirect the tsunami, sabi mo nga, 'di ba? Go somewhere else and I'm gonna have higher, bigger waves out there, 'di ba? Have a bigger movement, more sensible movement. Yun lang. Pero yun nga, ang dami natin sinabi. Pero yeah, Schitt's Creek is not shitty. It sounds like, pero it's a beautiful series.
Actually, let's turn that around.
Yeah, yeah.
Schitt's Creek is the shit.
Yes! Yes! Totally.
I cannot say enough good things about it.
Right.
Actually, I rewatched some of the scenes and some of the
Talaga.
episodes
Oh
because
my.
it's just so feel good for me.
Super. Super.
Yeah.
Well, alam mo, super, di ba sabi mo nga, na-saturate
Um,
na tayo sa mga BLs, ganyan,
nawala
di ba?
talaga ako.
And then, when I started, hello? Can you hear me, Mikey?
I'm back. Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Ako yung
Baka
nawala.
ako naman yung nawala. Hindi ko na alam.
You know, wala.
We don't know anymore kasi wala tayong globe eh. Kasi hindi ko alam kung sino.
Correct,
So, pakiramdaman na lang tayo nito, ma.
correct, correct,
Di ba?
correct.
Parang you made mention of saturation eh. Parang, yeah, we get saturated with all these contents, BLs most especially. And there's nothing wrong about that. But the thing is, when I watch Schitt's Creek, parang it really like uprooted me somewhere. Like, hey, I feel good again. I don't know if it's being ecstatic, but it didn't actually make me feel sexual eh. Kasi most of the time yung mga BLs na to parang
Yes,
made us feel things,
yes.
right?
Yung
'Di
mga
ba? Pero
pa-abs na yan, yung mga
right.
pa-shower na yan.
Oo. And we're not hypocritical in saying na parang we don't want these scenes. Hello, 'di ba? But Schitt's Creek, sabi mo nga, elevated and gave us a different, like, it's very purposive eh. Na parang,
Yes.
it's a whole different human experience, viewing experience yung nangyari sa atin. Kaya,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. Yun lang talaga. All praises
So
tayo,
much.
te.
So much. So much.
Yes.
So,
Okay, Mikey,
are we gonna read?
may magandang question si Lance dito. Gusto ko talaga
Ah,
sagutin to
go, 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 go,
for
go, go.
us. But if you were to be a character in the series, who would you be and why? Gusto ko siya sagutin.
Go. I know
Ako
who I will be.
siguro, ako, um, well, David will always be me. As in, I feel like I'm a David talaga. Like with all his eccentricities. Hindi naman necessarily yung pinagdaanan niya. Pero I felt like, yung manifestation niya is so me. But deep inside me, I still have this good person in me. Alam mo yon na I try to shell myself. I try to like confine myself. I try to be hard onto other people. But once I'm inside my room with my family, with people I trust, I become soft. And I'm so David talaga te, as in not a single doubt. I'm there. Yung sweat yung sweater niya te. I mean these are actually eccentrically designed sweaters but I love them. Para I would wear
Yes.
them.
Mhm.
Ayun, so I think I'm a David because of
The one that was given by
I feel like
Jared
he's
Leto.
Oo, 'di
It
ba?
looks like a poncho.
Oo.
But everything else I would wear too, yeah. And maybe
Yes.
not the skirt, but the sweater.
Oo.
Super.
Yeah. Yun.
Same
Ako
answer.
I like David. I think I'm more of a David. But one character that I wish to be is Alexis talaga te. Parang I super like her development. Parang I wish I don't wish to be like her. I don't wish that I went through what she went through. But
Mhm.
I just wish that I'm that person kung ano siya nung natapos na yung series. Kung ano, alam mo yun, parang yung growth, yung development, how I wish I could be like that. Yun yung wish ko lang talaga. Pero in terms of like relatability, I think I'm more of a David. Yes. Ikaw ba?
Same. Same. I can relate to him the most because probably same. What's the word I'm looking for? Same come in a lot of ways, actually.
Okay.
And also because I love Patrick.
We all love Patrick. Hello.
And who doesn't want to be with him?
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Yes.
So Lance also
Uh,
said he agrees. I guess it's regarding the money making scheme.
yes.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I mean, they might have other reasons, but on the surface at least, it appears to be that way. Diba? Kasi
Yeah.
when you really want to tell a story, it shows in the
Mm.
storytelling.
Mm-mm.
Diba? And when you just want to make a quick buck, it also shows in the story. I think the viewing public is smart enough to know which is which.
Yeah.
Um, so siguro yung last question niya. Pero they
Yes.
may begin their redirection, but who else would bite? I'm not sure about that question.
There will be ano? They begin the redirection, but who else would bite?
Are you talking about Schitt's Creek? Um,
Baka
hmm.
BL natin? If they
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's really up to them if they want to redirect their efforts or their energies. Um, but I'm hoping that the one of well the bigger studios would do that. I think they're already doing it,
Yeah.
the bigger studios. Um, but you and hopefully they take inspiration from shows like Schitt's Creek, you
Right.
know, and use that as sort of like a peg or as a
Mm-mm.
model
Mm-mm.
to make a
Mm-mm.
successful series.
Yeah. Wait, pero Mikey, maganda tong
Business
question ni
direction.
Lance. But I have like a different question siguro that we can like answer before we end our show.
Mm.
Um Parang how do you sense or how do you feel about the film series or the production in the Philippines? Parang do you think it's progressive enough to make movements here and there? Or is it too safe? Parang are we there yet? Alam mo yun? Does my question make sense? Parang do we
Yeah,
feel like it's moving? Do we feel like it's progressive? It's risky that they will take the risk redirecting themselves, or do we feel like it will just settle somewhere?
it's hard to say. But what I do know is there's been progress, especially when it
Mm.
came to MMFF, diba? So we've
Uh,
seen a BL movie featured
mm-hmm,
in MMFF, and we've
mm-hmm,
seen the likes of fangirl storytelling. So
yeah,
I think there is a lot of hope. Um, but what I can also consider to be a factor there is yung thrust ng studio? Is it to sacrifice quality for the sake of making a buck,
mm, 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 mm.
or is it more about telling a story
Yeah,
regardless of the profit or not, diba?
yeah,
So it will all depend talaga eh. Pero I think there has been some progress. Ang importante lang siguro is to sustain that and to sort of maybe let it snowball, parang
yeah,
maging bigger and bigger until such
mm-mm.
time na parang hindi na natin kailangan pag-usapan yung mga
Right.
ay naku na parang mga bagay na ay naku ayan it's right to the point that we actually just talk about relationship issues and like usual issues
Right.
yung mga ganun bagay
Yeah.
yun that's it for me.
I couldn't agree more. And here's the thing. Wala kasi siya sa Netflix Philippines eh. So, ang question
let's
is,
let's submit. I know we can submit because I
ay,
submitted for
sige. Submit
series.
ako. Magsasubmit na lang. I've never submitted. This will be my first submission. Char. Yes, I'll do that. Pero
Yes,
ano ba? Ang requirement ba sa Netflix dapat marami? May certain number ba for them to say yes, it's a go? Ganon.
add
Hello?
to that number.
Sorry.
Yes,
Ako yata nawala or ikaw? Hindi ko alam. Hindi ko na alam.
I think it was me. I think it was me.
Okay.
But in any case, I think there is a number. I just don't know what it is.
Okay.
Or maybe if it's not a number, maybe it's yung recognition.
Mm,
Kilala naman yung Schitt's Creek. And they have it in Netflix Canada. So
yeah.
they can just add it. I don't know if there's I don't know what the legal restrictions are. But
Right.
let's request for it. And then let's hope because I want to
Yes.
binge watch it
Yes.
again
Yes, me too. Masarap sa Netflix
with
kasi.
my bye. I
Baby.
want to binge watch it with my bye.
Ah, but I think to Lance's question, siguro, Mike, I think Pinoys or Filipinos will love this. I don't know. It's just me. I feel like
I
people
think
will
they
enjoy
will.
the
I think they
humor
will.
because it's
I mean, we can't speak
familiar.
for yeah. I don't think we can speak for all Filipinos, but I think
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
at least for the people that we do know, they will
Oh
like
yeah,
it. They will love
true,
it.
true, true,
Yeah.
true, true. Yes, i-request na natin yan. Submit na to. Sure.
Is it ready to accept something like Schitt's Creek kasi wala pa siya sa Netflix? Yeah, I think they're ready to
It
accept it.
is. It
They just need
is.
to experience it.
Oh, ito na
They
nga
just
yung
need to
isa pang
experience it.
question. Ready na ba raw ang Pilipinas for something like? Oo naman. Para sa akin ha.
Yeah, I think so
Yes.
too. Absolutely.
Yes. But there's nothing too too controversial about it eh. 'Di ba? Parang
Yeah.
you know, It's
I think it has
beautiful.
all the elements of a um, classic. I mean, eventually it will become a classic, diba?
Mhm,
I
mhm,
mean,
mhm.
because people are gonna love it. And based on what I've seen, um, it's relatable to a lot of people in a lot of ways.
Super.
So I have no doubt they're gonna love it.
Kaya
Pero
nga
admittedly,
uh-huh,
because I saw the Simply the Best acoustic video, and because I
uh-huh.
know that there is gonna be a love story, I was I was a bit impatient with the first couple of seasons because I wanted to
True,
get to that part.
true. Very true. Very true. Kasi 'di ba ano,
But
we do know that that part is ay hindi Mikey, sorry. Tama ba ang song, we are pertaining to the song kasi ang nasa utak ko naman yung kissing scene as in the car scene. So I was
ah,
so
mhm.
I was impatiently
Ako
waiting for
song part,
season
the song
3
part.
na.
Yes, season
Na
three.
parang, ang tagal. Asan na yung eksena ng kotse? Yun
Yeah,
naman.
yeah, yeah. Ako yung kanta. Pero
Yes.
yun, it didn't make me I still enjoyed season one and two just as much.
Yes, yes, yes. Ay, Mikey, naalala ko na kung bakit pala na-hook ako dun sa ano. I saw the clip already of the acoustic guitar thing.
Mm-mm.
And
The
then,
ultimate.
oo. I think that the clip that I shared with you guys was yung car scene. Yung nasa cafe sila. And it was David's birthday. And
Yeah.
'di ba? And Stevie was like, if there's remotely sentimental in this gift, Kineme, you are on a date, ganyan. And then nilabas nga,
Yes.
the frame was the receipt of the first sale
Right.
nila sa store and all.
Yo.
And then the car scene. I think that's the reason also that I got curious about the story. Na parang there's something about this. E paulit-ulit kong pinapanood yung clip to the point na naghanap tayo ng paraan at magkaroon tayo ng access, 'di ba? Kaya natin napanood yung 6 seasons na 'yon. So 'yon.
Correct. Yeah. Para-paraan talaga yan.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
And siguro just to go back a little bit to Patrick and David, I think
Yeah.
the reason why David started liking Patrick in the first place is because
Uh-huh.
he was pretty much like Stevie. Like Patrick doesn't let him get away with anything. Like he calls him out, diba?
Yeah.
And he speaks his mind. Pero
Yeah.
Patrick can still be very, alam mo yun, parang even when he's mad, he can still be very good. Alam mo yun? Yung parang kahit
Super.
galit na siya, parang super, I mean, he gets frustrated, definitely, but even in his frustration, he's never mean or he's never,
Laughable pa rin,
nasty.
ma'am.
Oo,
Huggable
ano
pa
pa rin siya,
rin. Char.
like, make a baby, I'm hungry. Oh,
Uy, wait lang. Before we forget mentioning, yung sloppy mouth scene, alam mo yun? You have a clean mouth and then sloppy mouth, whatever. Ano yung eksena
I'm gonna
doon?
stop him out. Yes, yes.
Oo.
Parang David took out juice and drank from it, and then
Aha.
Patrick drank from it too. And then parang David was like, "Is that your juice?" No, it's not. That was parang I think it's our juice because it came from our fridge. Ganun. Tapos parang
Ah,
okay, because some people have a sloppy mouth and you look like you have a clean mouth. Yeah,
ah,
so,
ah, ah,
okay, sige. Tapos so parang can I have my juice back? No, you have a sloppy
ah.
mouth.
Gusto ko yun! Gusto
Diba?
ko yung
I mean,
eksena.
they fit each other so well, and I like how
Super.
Patrick can take whatever David throws at him and
Yeah.
para just run with it. Diba? Ang
Yes.
ganda na they're very
Natural.
complementing of each other, di ba? So parang so si David is the creative type and then he's the business guy. And
Yeah.
then he's the funky he's the funky clothing guy and he's the business major with a straight leg,
Oo, oo,
mid-range denim
oo.
kind of guy.
Sinabi na yun.
Alam mo yun? So, ayun, parang that's why I love their as well. Kasi parang they can banter off of each other so well.
Yeah. And Mikey, it's not your typical pair. 'di ba, ng gay
Oh,
couple. No? 'Di ba
yeah.
parang like sabi mo nga parang there's eccentricity for both of them kasi one guy is kind of closeted but he's in it. The other
And
is
he's very
pansexual.
flamboyant. And the other
Exactly.
is very street acting.
Right.
Or
Right.
non-flamboyant na lang. Parang, yeah, mestiza
Oo.
dalawa.
Tsaka maganda ba, I don't know
Non-flamboyant.
if this is not, I don't know if this is noteworthy, worthy mentioning. Yung height difference even 'di ba?
Oh my God!
Parang 'di ba, Mikey? I mean,
There was one
hey.
time, di ba during the slumber party, when
Ah.
Alexis and Patrick were gonna kiss, she took off her heels, and then he was like, "Is that really necessary?"
Oh my God. Yes.
Because he's a cute
Funny
predator.
yun,
Yeah.
super. So cute.
It's so adorable, and
Ay, nako.
I like his facial expressions. Oh, by the way,
Yeah.
worthy to say yata. I think the reason why a lot of his expressions are very genuine is that
Mhm.
going into the series, he my back. Yeah, kasi nawala ako eh. So he only
Okay, go, go.
watched the first episode because he said he owned. Am I back?
Go, go. Yes, Mikey.
Hello.
Yes. Go, go.
Ayan. So, ayun.
Yes, Mikey.
So, going into the audition para, he only watched the first episode because he said he wanted to experience the people and the
Mm,
characters firsthand talaga. So, parang
nice.
wala siya masyadong idea. Ganon. So, that's why I
Yeah.
think his expressions are so genuine. I mean, when he's like surprised at something, or when he's shocked about something,
Cute.
or when he laughs, or when he looks at people, alam mo yung parang, oh my God, he's such a cutie. Like
Super.
I have major crush. Anyways,
Same. Ay,
so
Diyos ko.
suffice to say that this is now one of my favorite series,
Yes.
couple of all time.
Yes.
All
Yes.
time.
I'll say the same. I will say the same.
And wag na tayong umarte pa. 10 out of 10 to para sa akin.
Ay, oo. I was about to flash that, but wag na natin i-flash, no? Kasi 10 din ako. So 10 to. Not
10
a
talaga.
single doubt. 10
10
to
out
for
of 10 to.
BBS.
Actually, di ba may mga pass tayo? Kung may pass at kung pwedeng gamitin
Gamitin
yung
mo
pass.
na. Gamitin mo na.
Pero baka may
Sige,
darating
sige,
pa eh.
sige. I-gist na natin to. Ita na natin to.
Pero G's
Fair
na
enough.
talaga to. 10 out of 10, guys. And
Yes.
two toes and 2 thumbs up.
Yes.
I'm sorry if I'm distracting you with all my hair fixing, but I'm just so frustrated with it. So, anyways. Nagdalawang oras rin tayo. Akala ko mabilis lang to, guys.
Hoy. At Mikey partida, dalawa lang tayo.
Dalawa lang tayo.
Ay. Ganun po maganda yung series na to kasi ang dami naming kinuda dito, no?
Guys, seriously, it is so good. Watch it and watch it sequentially. Watch
Yes.
everything and
Yes.
make sure that you savor every episode. Kasi,
Yeah. Wait, Mikey, let's say hi first to food and travel.
oh, hi! Hey, Food and Travel!
Hey.
Thank you for being here. What's your favorite wine? You like the wine and not the label.
Yes. Yes.
You should watch it. You really should watch it. And when you watch it,
Watch
watch
mo
it with
na.
a bottle of wine.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Ay,
And watch
ito last.
watch it with your loved ones or watch it with your friends.
Yes. Very
So
true.
because you'll have a lot to talk about. Look at
Ito,
us.
Mikey.
Dalawa lang kami. Nag 2 hours kami dito.
Oo. Pero siguro parang to end it no siguro, parang ay nga, I will say the same. The reason I like this series is it's very assuring. It's hopeful for me that someday we will become that. I mean, it may be idealistic a bit, but to me it can happen, diba? Aside from that, I didn't feel lost in the series. Na parang wala ako, I mean I'm single, but hey, there's Alexis who's independent and like decisive na parang hey, I can be in New York on my own. I mean, I felt that. I mean, alam mo yun, parang like everybody's well represented, I guess.
Girl in
Not
the
everybody,
States.
'di ba? Pero like ang ganda nung space ng Schitt's Creek talaga. It's not some creek. Sabi nga ni Lance ba, Dawson's
Right.
Creek ba to? Hindi talaga to Dawson's Creek. ibang creek
Ay,
talaga
ang
to,
layo.
Lance.
Super layo.
Super layo.
Right. And I think for a
Yes.
lot of people, it became like a source of comfort and joy
Yeah.
because may pandemic tayo, and they were
Yes.
watching it during the pandemic. At least the last season, they were watching it during the pandemic.
Yes.
So yeah, if you want a ray of sunshine during this pandemic, this is one of the things that you can watch, and it will give you comfort.
Yes. It's a happy
Yeah,
series. Super happy
it's
series.
happy. It's happy. Not happy joy necessarily, but
No.
happy like it it gives you hope, it gives you inspiration.
Very
Ganon.
much. Very much.
And it gives you kilig too. So
Uy, ano pala, dun sa interview pa sa Super Last, ang dami ko nang naalala na naman, yung sa wig ni Moira, no? It was, yung wig ni Moira, it was a random thing, no? It was Catherine O'Hara's idea, diba? Na maglagay
yes.
tayo ng wigs and everything. Yeah.
Right. And that's also something that I wanted to mention. But in terms of
Yeah.
si Alexis naman, kasi
Okay.
di ba nasabi mo na parang in terms of collaboration, they really
Uh,
collaborated
uh,
with each other. So si Alexis naman, siya yung nag-come up with the jingle, the song.
mm,
I'm a little bit Alexis, and
mm.
also she studied and created her mannerisms and the way
Yeah,
that she
siya
talks.
yun.
Diba? So parang Dan had a vision, but then they took it, they added to it, and brought it to life by themselves.
Beautiful.
So yeah.
Ganda.
And with Noah Reed, of course, he did that stripped down version of Simply the Best. I don't know about the rest, no, pero yeah, it was pretty much them coming up with ideas, putting it on the table, running with
Yeah.
it, and then making a very successful show. So
Yes. It was a success.
super
Definitely.
good, super good.
Yes. Wala tayong masabi, ma'am. Panoorin nyo
Oo,
na lang. No, kung
oras nyo
pwede.
na lang. Tapos usap tayo.
Oo. Mag-isa pa tayong live ulit.
Yes.
Mikey and I can't have enough of this. I mean, this is not enough. I mean, we will rage about this in the coming weeks pa. Tuloy, hindi pa kami tapos dito sa...
Pwede tayo
Oo.
mag-range tayo.
Oo. Ay, okay. Ayan, magto 2 hours na talaga tayo. So, is this where we end our talk show?
Yes, it is. So 10 out of 10, guys. Watch it.
Yes.
Right. So I guess that brings us to the end of our session tonight. If you're watching it, again, we encourage you to watch the show. And oh my God, here we go. Feels. Follow us on our social media accounts. It's in the running board below. And also, if you have any shows that you would like to recommend, or if you have anything that you think we should be discussing, let us know. It can be in the comments, it can be on our social media. Go ahead and give us a follow. You can subscribe to us on our YouTube channel as well. Click the notification bell so you'll be updated on the uploads that we have or any lives that we might have. And let's continue to be part of the conversation. Let's help each other, support each other, and hopefully we build a loving, inclusive, and homophobia free.
Yes.
Thank you very much for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Again, this is Mikey and this is Nico. We're the Brew Happy Squad. We'll see you in the next one.
Yes. Happy
Stay
Friday.
safe.
Happy weekend, everybody.
And
Bye.